Welcome everybody. Excited to have you here for the July advanced class. You know, I'm assuming that you already attended the basics, master the essentials call and learned how to use the basics, but you've come back for this advanced call. We hold this every month, and the goal is to show you some more advanced techniques to using your app, and of course, talking about the premium content that we highlight in our monthly marketing package. While we all pile in, I'd love to see where you guys are joining from. It's just me today, and so I'll try to watch the comments section for any questions that pop up. I've got that up on the screen here. But excited to have you guys here. Oh, both sides of the nation already responding. We got Florida, California, Utah. Awesome. So excited to have you guys here. And again, if you have not had the chance to join that basics call and learn the basic functionality of your app, you'll want to connect with your rep to get access to that recording or get in our next session. We hold that every Wednesday, and they'll be able to get you the link for that. I am using a generic version of the app. I'm going to go ahead and pull my iPad screen up here, because today we're going to dive into some cool stuff, but I want you guys to understand that the data and such may be a little different. I'm using an unbranded version here in Texas. I see a lot of us joining from other places in the nation. Cheesehead in the house. I know Chris from our office here, if he's joining, he's probably happy that you put that cheese emoji there as well, Michelle. But again, excited to have you guys here. And again, just mentioning, I'm using the unbranded version. Most of you joining today probably have a branded version that you've gotten from your favorite title sponsor. So yours will have their logo. It'll have their fees baked in. I'm using this unbranded presentation version here, which is going to maybe have a little bit different fees than what you're showing there, but worth mentioning to you guys. Now, another thing I want to mention, for those of you who are joining who do not have a title sponsor, definitely feel free to reach out to us, support@palmagent.com. We're trying to make sure that, this is something available in all parts of the nation. And so if there are, a lack of title sponsors in your area, feel free to reach out to us and put us in contact. We'd love to work with your favorite title partner if we're not already. Chances are we are, though. All right, so again, this goal. Oh, the sound is unclear. Let's see. Mimi said the sound is unclear. Is anybody else having issues with the audio? I do know. Okay, good. Michelle, thank you. I do know to Mimi that Zoom has been doing this issue lately where it's been opening up two instances of a Zoom meeting. And so if you're hearing some kind of echo, that might be what the case is. I've seen that happen on a few of the webinars that we've done recently. It's an update that Zoom made. And so you might need to close out of the additional window. So yeah, Mimi, if you're hearing an echo, you probably have two instances of this Zoom webinar open on that computer. Logging out and logging back in should help with that as well, but you also might be able to X out of one of the windows of Zoom to fix that. All right, so without further ado, because there's so much I have to cover with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and click on my PalmAgent 1 app icon and dive into this. Now, for those of you who have joined an advanced call in the past, you know the format here. We're talking about what's hot, what's new, what's most relevant. What are the most relevant calculators to use with our clients? And so I'll touch on that, but we also go over what's being highlighted in the monthly marketing package. At the beginning of each month, we highlight pieces of content based on the biggest conversations that you guys are having, and we've really done some cool stuff for this month's marketing package. Now, it's not quite live just yet. I did post the video before coming in here and meeting with you guys. So the video is live. The content will be live here in the next 30 minutes, an hour. We've got some really cool stuff. I do have it on this iPad, so I'm going to show it off to you and you're going to get to see it. But for those of you who are following along, you won't have this content available in your app, at least as of right now. The devs might do a little magic while I'm on this call with you, so it might show up as we're on this call, but I at least wanted you guys to see it because, you know, that's our tradition here at the Advanced Call. Once a month, we're going to talk about what's hot, what's new in the calculators tab, and we're going to talk about that monthly marketing package. And, you know, for today's session, I actually want to start with that marketing content. We've got some really cool stuff that we've done, and so I really want to show that off for you guys. I'm just so excited about what we've done for this this marketing package. And so I'm going to start with that. Then we'll round it out by talking about the relevant calculators that you should be using. Now, I'm going to jump to the premium tab. That's where we'll find that social media content library. And again, every month we do our marketing package. We try to hit the first Monday of the month, you know, 4th of July, through this month off a little bit. But I want to talk about this monthly marketing package because, like I said, we've got some really cool stuff that we're highlighting. So this month's July marketing package consists of, first, this really awesome piece. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and we'll open it up and take a look. But this is an awesome report for you to use to market any of those listings that you're working right now. You know, this is one of the best, you know, listing reports that we've created, in my opinion. We took our geo report and we added some really cool stuff to it. You know, as you guys may know, we're buying a lot of new data from some really cool data providers. And so we're trying to implement that into this content for you guys. Let me show you what we've done here. So this is a nice little report for you to generate about a home. Right now, a lot of these buyers are trying to get in before the school year starts. We're in that last little push. And so we created this home shopping cheat sheet, a neighborhood snapshot, back to school report. Of course, it's going to give you information about that home, like the square footage, the year built, the lot size, price per square foot, and how that compares to the area average. That's a new piece that we're doing. I really love that there. We're able to see the average square foot per, you know, average price per square foot for different neighborhoods. We're going to actually display that on there. And there's another cool thing that we're doing with that that I'll point out further down on this printout. Now, of course, we're able to pull that tax record, so we're going to do that on there as well. For any of you that have used our previous geo reports, we do get that school data. And of course, with this being a back to school report, we're highlighting, you know, what are the schools for this home with their ratings. And of course, how does that school district rank in the state? We're going to include that as well. Along with internet speeds and parks and green spaces available in that area. You know, we'll show you how many are within a mile. We'll extend that to 5 miles, 10 miles, based on how rural your area is. But such cool information in here. Of course, down there at the bottom, the walk, what's nearby, some of the nearby conveniences and such. One thing that we did, though, that I absolutely love about this piece here, we wanted to add some strategy to it. You know, of course, this is a really awesome listing sheet here, and you're giving some really amazing information to that potential buyer about that listing. And all that we just went over, really great information there, bedroom, bathroom count, you know, all that good stuff. Everything a home shopping family needs to know about this listing in one page. I love that we put that in that top right corner. But what I want to point out that I think really takes this printout to the next level, you guys, down here. Oh, Lori, to your point, Lori's not seeing this July MMP yet. Like I said, this isn't available just yet. It should be going live in the next 30 minutes or an hour. But I wanted to get it on this iPad so that I could show it to you guys. But they are publishing that content right now. In fact, I just posted the video before jumping on this call with you guys. And so don't worry, you'll see that premium content available in your app here in the next next, 15 to 45 minutes, it should be available in there for you, Lori. All right, so the piece that I want to really talk up about this graphic, because as you see, it's already got some great information up top for us, but something that we've done down here at the bottom, we wanted to add strategy to this graphic. And so since we're getting, the data about a specific area, what's the average square footage, price per square foot for this area? What's the average days on market for this area? We're able to see some of that area specific data. Well, what we want to do is show how this listing compares to the average for that area. For example, if this one has been on the house for 33 days, but the average for this market is 22 days, this house has actually been on the market for 11 days longer than the average. That might give us some negotiation room here. If this house is sitting on the market for longer than the average that a home is sitting on the market in this area, that might be something good for us to know. There's some strategy involved there. There might be room to negotiate. And so we've got that strategy bar that's going to be included for you based on some of the information. Right now, it's just doing the days on market and the price per square foot. Price per square foot's another great metric to look at. If a house is listed at a lower price per square foot than that area, that could be a good value buy right there. And so that's another piece that we've highlighted in this strategy bar that you'll find on the bottom of this new geo report that we've made. So I absolutely love it. Such a cool feature. Again, we're going to see a lot more of this type of stuff implemented into our geo reports moving forward because we're getting so much new address specific data that we're able to do some really cool stuff with it. I can't wait for the coming months for you guys to see some of the specifically about geo reports, some of the cool things we're working on. We're building a build your own geo report that I think you guys are going to love. It'll show you all the data that we're able to pull about that address, highlight some of it for you, and let you create a fully custom report. So definitely be on the watch for that. But this is just a teaser of that new strategy angle and some of this additional data we're getting about these homes. So, that's the first piece. That's just one piece, you guys, being highlighted in the July monthly marketing package. So as you can see already, such a great jam-packed marketing package for July to celebrate America's 250th. Now, all right, so that's the first piece that we're highlighting. The second piece that we're highlighting, you guys are really, really going to love this, this real estate appreciation graphic. Now, we've done this a couple of different times in a few different ways because we here at PalmAgent truly believe this is such an important thing for us as a real estate community to be educating our buyers about. A lot of times the headlines scream about depreciation or how homes aren't appreciating as fast. And, there's a lot of different ways that the media likes to really lean into fear mongering when it comes to home prices and real estate. And what we've found is that if you take a step back and you look at some of this data historically, it tells a different story than a lot of the headlines like to use when they sensationalize some of the more recent stats. And so what we've done here, and like I said, we've done this in the past, but this is a new format for this, really cool new format that I really love, is we want to show historically what appreciation has done. And we did this last year where we were showing the national. We had so many requests that we remade it showing the state and the local data as well. And so we've done that here again. We gave you a new format. In fact, there's a few different formats to choose from. In fact, I'll take a step back and take us back to the main page. You can see that we've got this version here that we'll go into that has more of a graph layout for the three different appreciation historical looks. You've got the national, the state, and then the local one as well. But then we have some other styles for that as well. You'll find this style in here, and then there's a third style being highlighted in this monthly marketing package as well. So different styles to illustrate the same thing. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what it's showing us. So here it's showing us, again, at the top, it'll have something that makes it relatable to that specific viewer. You want to plug in a price point and it'll show you, hey, based in some appreciation, some average appreciation over 2 years, here's how much that house could cost in the future, how much it could appreciate in the future. So, a dynamic piece, of course, to this graphic that lets you plug in a price point that works for your audience. But down below, you'll see, again, we do the United States, the state, and then the county look as well at appreciation over the last 50 years, guys. This is the last 50 years and how appreciation has looked at the national level. Very rare amount of depreciation there. And then, of course, the state level too. And then that local area level here can be found on this piece as well. This is fully dynamic again. On the example, we're showing United States, Washington, Thurston County specifically. I'm here in Tarrant County of DFW. I need this to work for my clientele. I would press continue at the bottom there. And now it's going to take me to a screen where I can add the price point so it works for my audience. And I can, of course, add an address so that I can have data specific to my area. Again, such a good piece for you to post on social media to educate your followers on how rare depreciation actually is, but also something that you could use as a printout in a printout form. We do have that standard size where you can go in and walk into that conversation with a buyer who's trying to argue with you about appreciation and they don't feel like homes are going to appreciate. Show them the historical look. And follow that up with the buy now or buy later calculator, which we'll look at here in just a second. So that was the second piece that we highlighted in the monthly marketing package. So the first piece, that awesome geo report with that strategy piece built in. The second piece that we highlighted, the real estate appreciation graphic, such a good piece for us to, reframe those headlines that are talking about depreciation. Now, this third one is another cool piece that really highlights some local data, you guys. Okay, I see some questions coming in, so let me go ahead and answer those real quick. So for Jerry Lynn, yes, absolutely, you can text over that back to school report after you go through it. In fact, I'll open it up and I'll point out how you would go and share it. So we'll open up that back to school report. This is, of course, dynamic here, and so we have to press continue. And then it'll take us into the corresponding calculator that works with this so we can plug in that home price and any additional details. And of course, more importantly, the address. So I'll go ahead and load in that address real quick just to show you. So I'll put in address here. I'll go ahead and plug in a price point for that home. When you add an address, one cool thing, if you didn't know this already, we use a feature that we built called Home Link where it'll pull data about that address. As you can see, we need this infographic to be accurate. So it's pulling that tax record for us and it'll load that tax amount in for us. So nice feature throughout our calculators when you add an address. Now the home price, I'll go ahead and plug in a price point there. I'll plug in 6.25 and I'll hit compute. And it's going to dynamically customize this infographic based on the address that I've plugged in there. Again, that is how we customize this report. But to Jerry Lynn's question specifically, sharing this, absolutely, you can text this off that share icon that's in the top right corner of your preview screen here. That's how you'll share some of this content. So if we press that box with the arrow coming out of it, variety of different share methods. Of course, your text is on there. Such a smart gal for wanting to text this to your client. It's a real powerful way to look slick and techy. So I love that you're wanting to text this. But variety of other share methods as well. I like personally going into more and choosing to airdrop it to a client. Airdropping a report to them is just so slick and smooth. Definitely a really cool feature there. So definitely wanted to show Jerry Lynn that. Lori, I love that. We use that home price expectation survey often. In fact, I'll show you how we've used that in our buy now or buy later calculator. It looks like she just mentioned that to the hosts and panelists, but we do use that home price expectation, the HPES from Fannie Mae. I'll show you how we've weaved it into one of our calculators. Oh, Michelle just learned how to airdrop. Awesome. I'm telling you, it's super slick to airdrop something over to that client. Definitely try using that with some of the reports that you create in the app. All right, so I think that's all the questions there. So I'm going to keep the show rolling. Again, we were on the third piece. So we've talked about that new report that we created for marketing your listings leading up to this school, coming back to school, trying to get them to buy that house before the semester starts. So we talked about that first piece. The second piece, of course, with that real estate appreciation historical look, being able to talk about that. The third piece is a mid-year market report about your area. I'm going to go ahead and open this one up as well so we can zoom in on some of the data that it's showing here. So you plug in an address, like I said, a lot of address specific data here. It's going to show you a nice little graph on the median home price for that city specifically. Since February, what has the median home price done for this county or this city? So such cool information there. Of course, what has happened to home prices over the last year as well. So not just the 6-month graph, but also a year look as well. Then we have how many sales homes are for sale right now, that inventory level. And then how long is the average days on market for this area? This all is coming from Altos, of course, which another data piece that Altos provides to us that we wanted to help you guys with is this market action index that they do. I'll zoom in on that. Apparently 30 is when it starts becoming more of a buyer's market, according to Altos, with this market action index that they do. So we'll actually pull what the market action index is for that specific city, and we've included that here on this report as well. Such a cool report for you to use to educate your followers on what's happening in your market specifically. And this piece is going to base all these highlights. You see how the slider on that graphic is blue, and then of course my graph itself is blue. There's a little line at the top of the screen that's blue. That's basing that off of my brand color. So I encourage you guys to go into your account settings, set your brand color, and so that this report will be customized for your brand specifically. In fact, I'll show you how to do that here in just a second when we get done with the MMP content, especially because so much of the content that we've built in for this month is going to be dynamically customizable based on your brand color. So I want to make sure that you guys are going into your account and setting your brand color. Now, we could go in and add an address and, of course, pull this report for this specific city that we plug in an address. I'm not going to do that now for sake of time, but I wanted to go through and at least show you guys the different data pieces on this and kind of frame it and give you an idea of what's included in this report. Definitely a really awesome report here. All right, so now I'm going to go back. The final piece that we're highlighting in our July monthly marketing package, is this really awesome swipeable infographic here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. I love this one because one, the stats, the main headline stat that we use on the first screen, because it's a swipeable infographic, so there's multiple pieces to it. But the graph, the statistic that we use on this first one, which actually came from the Bank of America Home Buyer Insights report that they did this year, but 71% of buyers are waiting for rates to drop. That's a huge number, but the real thing that we need our buyers who are falling in this 71% to know is that when the rates do come down, that 71% becomes your competition. You're waiting for lower rates along with 71% of people. What do you think happens when lower rates come? That 71% becomes your competition. They're going to be trying to fight for those homes with you. We need to remind our buyers that, hey, the same thing that's holding you back from buying right now is holding a ton of other people back. And when that low rate does come and you're ready then to buy, everybody else is going to be ready at that point as well. Now you're going to have a lot of competition. You're going to see some of these bidding wars that we saw, some of those crazy bidding war years. I know you guys remember those, but, we need to be able to say that to our buyers and say, hey, I know you're wanting to wait. You want a lower rate. Everybody else is wanting a lower rate as well. Maybe we could get you a low rate right now by asking for a seller concession and doing a rate buy down. Or let's swipe over to the second piece of this swipeable infographic. We're actually using our buy now or buy later calculation in this piece. If you are waiting for a low rate, you're in that 71% and you're waiting for a lower rate with the other, 71% that's waiting for you. You've got two options. Option A, you buy the house now, get it for the right price, and when those low rates come, you refinance down to the low rate. Versus option B, you wait for that low rate to come and then you buy. You're paying more for the home at that point, though. Here's a comparison. Here's how much more equity you would have if you bought today and then refinance down. And just so you know, this is how much equity you would miss out on. Better way to frame that. How much equity you would miss out on if you waited for those lower rates before you pulled the trigger on this home. So we've built in a calculation for this as well. Very popular calculation. In fact, I'm going to go through the buy now or buy later calculator with you guys, but we've put this buy now or buy later calculation into this swipeable infographic. Such a great piece for us to post on social media. And again, just educate our hesitant buyers. And then, of course, this piece, the last portion of this is a branded end card. We pull your profile information. Yes, this account, that is my profile photo. That is Sally Smith, the former Buffalo Wild Wings CEO, if you were curious. But we're going to take your profile information. We're going to create that branded end card for you based on your profile information. So if you're seeing any errors there, you'll need to go into your profile and update your information. Such a great piece. And of course, with any of our graphics, we always give you this suggested caption and hashtag button in that top right corner. You don't even have to think about what to type up with your post. We give you that caption and hashtag. You can just copy that. Now, I do want to also point out that this is another one of the pieces that's customized to your brand color. My brand color in my account on this profile is this blue, and so it's using that blue. But if your brand color is red, maybe you're a Keller Williams agent, yours is going to show red. You're a Century 21, you've got that yellow brand color in your account. This is going to show as yellow. So it's using that accent color again. We're going to go to that in just a second, show you how to update your brand color in your account settings so that you're getting these content pieces branded for you. All right, so I am going to look real quick at the questions. Are your infographics and other reports you've reviewed on Instagram ready, or do we need to add any text? Great question, Lori. One thing I do want to point out to you, when you are on premium and you go into any content here, I'll go ahead and I'll press the see all on this infographics category. It's going to take you to a library view. Look up there at the top. you're going to see a tab bar with different sized versions optimized for the various platforms. So, to Lori's question, Instagram, you trying to do an Instagram post and you need that 4:5 ratio, or are you trying to do an Instagram story where you need that rectangle version? Are you trying to do a Facebook post where you'll need that square version? We've got these customized versions available to you here. So absolutely, Lori, this is customized to the specific platform. Now, the buttons on the monthly marketing package will take you to the version of that content, the format of that content that we're highlighting. If you go check out our Instagram page, I put strategies for each of these pieces of content. In the email that we send out, you'll find those strategy buttons as well. Each of these pieces of content that we're highlighting in the monthly marketing package comes with its own strategy. For example, this piece would be great as a green screen reel on Instagram. Here's how you do a green screen reel, step by step. Here's a script that you can use when you're recording that video. We give you specific strategies for each of these pieces of content. You can check out our Instagram posts to see those strategies, or you can reach out to your title rep. It's available in their dashboard in the strategies tab of their content. A lot of cool stuff in here, though, that you'll want to check out. All right, so that was one question. So Sandra asked about her photo and being able to put her photo into her profile. I do want to mention, when you go into your profile and you try to add your photo and logo, that is something that requires a subscription to premium. Due to compliance reasons, that's just something that you'll have to put, you'll have to have a premium subscription to be able to put your photo and logo into your account due to co-branding compliance reasons. And so you do have to have premium, Sandra, to add your photo and logo. If you're still having issues, reach out to our support team, support@PalmAgent.com. It might just be you need to relaunch your app so that it recognizes that you have premium, but our support team, support@PalmAgent.com, should be able to help you. And to your question, I see you also have a question, Sandra, about airdropping any of this content. I'll just open up a piece. This one's not it's not dynamic. This is just the single version. When you go to share something, you press share. It's going to pull up your share sheet. And we don't have airdrop in our list of share methods. You'll have to press more. But that's where I'll share it as an image, and now airdrop on those iOS devices will show up right here. So that's how you airdrop content from your device. Definitely a really cool, sleek way to share content from your app to your client who's standing there and also has an iOS device. Really cool way to share it with them. So Sandra, there you go for that. So Kathy, let's see. Can you show us where to find the response to copy for the graphics? Could you reword that, Kathy? I'm not quite sure what you mean. Yes, so to Tamara's question, absolutely, you can text. In that share sheet, text message will be one of the options for sharing anything in the app. So you can share AirDrop, email, text, any of the other apps that you guys have. Some agents like to export their documents to DocuSign or Dotloop. You can do all of that there. Oh, okay. So, Kathy, the pre-written copy, you'll want to look when you're looking at a piece of content. In the top right corner, there's going to be this little caption speech bubble. That's how you'll find those captions and hashtags for your content. Great questions, by the way, everybody. This is, I want you guys to feel free to type in that chat section. In fact, I think I see somebody with their hand up. Yeah, Milani, if you want to type something in the chat section, feel free to ask any questions that you may have. All right, so while we wait to see if anybody else is going to ask any questions, I do want to show you guys how to go into your profile, your account settings specifically, and update your brand color. Like I said, a few of these pieces we're specifically leaning into your brand color and letting you dynamically customize. Well, before I do that, I want to press this See All because I want to show you on the swipeable infographics. I'm going to press See All right here. I want to show you for that last piece that we highlighted, we actually have 5 different style versions of it. We looked at the first one, but some of these other ones are really cool as well, you guys. And all 3, or at least the first 2 pages, are drastically different. So there's really cool different style options. Again, all of those take into account your brand color. I know this one on the thumbnail is showing that lighter PalmAgent blue, but once you open the piece up, again, it's going to use your brand color, mine being that darker blue. Your content is going to be customized to your color. So definitely want you to know that for that 71% stat specifically, we've got several different style options. And like I said, for the appreciation, we've got those 3 different style options that we're highlighting this month as well. Valerie asks a great question. I can't believe I haven't said it already. How much premium is? So to access this massive content library here, including the monthly marketing package content that we've highlighted for the month, premium costs you, I'm going to let you wait for a second, build anticipation, 99 cents a month. That's it. Or if you want to pay for the full year, you can save a little bit of money and just pay $9.99 for the year. Those were the lowest prices that the App Store would let us set. Definitely well worth it. Being able to access not only content that's branded for you, but takes these calculations and lets you look like a rock star in those face-to-face conversations with your clients, or when you're posting stuff on social media. This is well worth that 99 cents a month. And of course, we do give a 30-day trial. So if you subscribe, you're not going to be charged until that 31st day. And so we let you use all the content for free for 30 days. If you don't think you're getting enough value for your 4 quarters, you can always cancel before that 31st day and never be charged a dime, but well worth it. Okay, Michelle, to you, you can reach out to our support team and they'll be able to look at your account and see if you're on the monthly plan or the annual plan and what your billing date is. So support@palmagent.com for anything like that. They'll be able to reach out to you. Okay, so Kim, you'd like to request adding additional color options, example pink. Let me show you something. So I'm going to go in and okay, so another real quick before I talk about Kim's pink brand color, which we'll go into, Valerie is asking how agents sign up for premium. When you go to the premium tab, if you do not already have premium, you'll see a big blue button at the bottom. Well, first, you'll see a pop-up that'll show you what's premium is all about. But you can X out of that pop-up. But one thing that you'll see on this screen with all your content is a big blue button that says start 30-day trial. And so that's how you'll be able to tell if you don't have premium. You can also go into your settings. So I'll go to the buyer tab. If we go to the buyer, seller, or calculators tab, there is a menu icon in the top left corner with those 3 lines. If you press that, we of course have profile and account settings. I'm going to go into profile first. If you're going in and you're adjusting all your information, if you try to click on the photo and logo and it gives you a premium paywall, you obviously don't have premium. If you click on that and it gives you these options where you can add a logo, you have premium. Adding the photo and logo requires premium, and so that's another way that you can check to see if you have premium is by going to your profile and trying to upload a photo or a logo. And while we're here in this settings menu, I want to address real quick for Kim how to do the pink as your brand color. So if you go into account settings, so I've opened up the menu by pressing the 3 lines in the top left corner. Then I'm going to go into account settings. That's where you can set your brand color, your dark accent, and your light accent. I'll go ahead and press that blue for the brand color. It's going to pull up some presets here that we could scroll through. But if you're like Kim and you need a color that we did not preset in there for you, you'll want to press on this little pencil icon there. It's pretty small, but if you press on that pencil icon, it's going to pull up a way for you to do every different color that you want. You can do spectrum, you can do grid, you can do sliders, you can put in your exact color code right here. So you can do that pink that you need for your brand, Kim, and it'll customize this content for your pink. So there's that. Okay. Let's see. Shamsa has a question. So as for having two different apps, technically you would need to have those accounts set with different email addresses. So you can't have our app with multiple brands or one account with multiple brands. You'd have to set those accounts up with different email addresses. A good question there for you. All right, I think I've got all the questions now, and I showed Kim how to customize her content to be pink. So I would not recommend switching to Mimi's question. I would not recommend switching from a branded version of the app to an unbranded version. One of the benefits of the branded versions is that we partner with the title operations to preload their fees into the app. And so the branded versions of the app are actually more accurate than our unbranded PalmAgent version. So Mimi, I hope that answers your question. All right, so now we're going to talk about the rest of the app. We talked about premium, a lot of cool stuff in there. Again, you've got to upgrade your account to be able to access that stuff. But now let's talk about some free stuff that you can use for those of you who have not upgraded your account. I still want you to walk away with something valuable today. And so I'm going to jump to the calculators tab, and I want to give you the two calculators that you should be using. In fact, I'll throw a third one in there real quick for you. But the two calculators that you should be having in your conversations with your clients, and you should be using these calculators. And that's just because of what we're seeing happening across the nation. You know, we've built these calculators specifically for the conversations we're seeing agents have most often in today's market. And so the two calculators, there's a buyer one that I want you to know about, and there's a seller one that I want you to know about. The buyer calculator that you need to be using is buy now or buy later. One of the pieces of content that I showed you in the monthly marketing package uses this calculation. But if you've got a buyer who's thinking about waiting for a lower rate, this is the ultimate calculator to pull out and lean on in that conversation with them. Basically what the calculator lets you do is say, hey, you know, you're looking at homes right now. I know you don't want to pull the trigger because rates are a little bit higher than you want. But if you were to wait for that lower rate, let's just say it's next year, homes are going to appreciate. So that home you're looking at right now, it's going to be more expensive at that point. And if you throw low rates into the mix, that's when all the other buyers want to buy as well. And so you're going to be fighting over homes with them, which shoots home prices up even further. So if you're going to compare buying now versus buying in this hypothetical low rate future, you got to think about today's price versus that future price. And the kicker of that conversation, of course, you guys, is that if there are lower rates next year, I'd rather get the home for the right price today and refinance down to that lower. That's how I can get that low payment. You got to get the home for the right price. And so that buy now or buy later calculator is the number one calculator. If you're dealing with a buyer, chances are they're a little hesitant. They're waiting for rates to come down a little bit more before they pull the trigger. This is a tool you can use on them. I'll go ahead and show it to you because this is the advanced class and I want you to walk away being able to use this calculator. And so it opens up and you just plug in a home price. And my tip to you is that you plug in a home price of a house that you've actually toured with that buyer. You need them to feel it. When you start talking about this house costing more in the future, you really want them to feel it. And so by plugging in a home price here, you want to use a home that they already went and looked at. You know, you want them to have a price point and an actual tangible house tied together in their mind. So when you start talking about that house costing more in the future, you need them to be able to feel it. So I'm going to plug in 5 1/4. Let's act like we just toured this home earlier this week with this buyer, that 5 1/4 home. They're not ready to pull the trigger yet. And so I'm going to use this calculation on them. I'm going to plug in 5 1/4 and hit compute. And first, the app is going to show me the buy now scenario. You know, if we bought today at today's rate and today's price, Your monthly payments right here, your bring to close is right here. Simple, standard, cut and dry. That's the first piece of the buy now versus buy later calculator, is the buy now portion. Now, the tab bar at the top is how you switch to different, data that we're displaying about this calculation. The next one is the appreciation tab. This is the best tab in this calculator, in my opinion. I actually want to pull this tab out and have its own calculator, an appreciation calculator, because this alone is such a good conversation piece for us to lean on. The next tab, the refi tab, which I'll show you in just a second, is arguably a better way to be a result screen for this specific calculator. But this appreciation tab is an important piece to this conversation. If we're talking about buying now versus buying later, we really got to hit that appreciation portion of that conversation. If they're going to think about buying next year or the year after, we really got to remind them that home that they're looking at right now, it's going to be more expensive next year and more expensive the year after. This is the appreciation tab that lets you lean on historical appreciation and expert predictions of what's happening with home prices moving forward. It starts simply. It says, hey, 2 years, 3.5% appreciation. That house that you're looking at right now, that 5.25 home, in 2 years, it could cost $562. And of course, this is dynamic. It's editable. Maybe that seller or that buyer is only waiting 1 year. They're just going to re-sign their lease and buy next year. So let's change that from 2 years to 1 year. And we're probably having to have an argument with that buyer about appreciation. Maybe they've seen headlines about depreciation. So they're like, 3.5% that you're showing, that's kind of high. I don't think homes are going to appreciate that much. So you're saying the house would be $543 next year, but that's using 3.5% appreciation. And I don't think homes are going to appreciate that much. Let's play devil's advocate here. Let's talk about less appreciation. Let's talk about 2% appreciation instead. I've seen your pre-approval paperwork. You're only pre-approved for 5.25. This exact house that you're interested in right now would be $535 next year. You're on the fence about buying it at 5.25, even at a more conservative appreciation rate. How do you feel about buying it at $535? How do you feel about paying more for that home? And really, to support us in this conversation about appreciation, because that 3.5%, in my opinion, was conservative. The historical, average, if you look back, going back 75 years, it's almost 5% appreciation. But what's really cool is we've given you all the additional context to really support you in this conversation and really get you back up to that 3.5% appreciation over a year, because that's realistic. In fact, let's scroll down and look at this stuff. Let's see what the experts are projecting for the next 12 months. The biggest names, and I think CoreLogic changed their name to Cotality. So that's, one of the biggest names in real estate data, CoreLogic, Cotality, NAR, Wells Fargo, Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association. If we look at what the experts are expecting, most of them are more than 3.5%. But I get you. You think that homes are only going to appreciate 2%. Well, let's scroll down. Let's look at this Fannie Mae home price expectation. I don't remember which of you called it out. What's happening for the next 5 years, according to Fannie Mae? What's expected of home prices over the next 5 years? We can have that conversation with our client as well. If I scroll down, the final piece of this is my favorite. It goes along with that infographic that we're highlighting in the monthly marketing package, the historical look. If they're still arguing with you after you've gone through what the experts are expecting for the next 12 months, what Fannie Mae is expecting for the next 5 years, okay, let's talk about historically what's happened with home prices. At the national level, we can already see that depreciation is fairly rare. There's only a handful of years here in the last 75 years where homes actually depreciated. So your fear, Mr. Hesitant buyer, is a little unfounded. If we look back historically, depreciation is not that common. That's at the national level. Let's look at the state level. In Texas here, same story. Depreciation's not happening that often. We're looking at a 50-year look here. It's only been 6 times that it depreciated, that we saw depreciation years. And then, of course, the local level as well, Tarrant, Dallas, Fort Worth area. Again, another way for us to have this conversation with our buyer. They want to talk appreciation. Okay, let's talk about future appreciation from the experts. Let's talk historical appreciation from historical records. It gives us all the context to really be an expert in that conversation. Again, scroll back up to the top. Now let's play with the numbers, 3%, 3.5%, 5%. Let's talk about less appreciation. Let's talk about depreciation if we need to. But this is a way for us to talk about how much that house could cost in the future. Such a powerful way to have that buy now or buy later calculation conversation. Now, the last piece of this that I'll show you before I switch over to the other calculator is the refi tab. This is where if you think rates are going to be lower next year or the year after that, you've got 2 options. Option A, you buy the house now, and then when those lower rates come, you refinance down to the lower rate. Here's what your monthly payment would look like. And then option B, you just wait. You wait a year. Rates come down next year, you buy. You paid more for the home at that point, but good for you. You got that low rate right out the gate. But we can see doing it that way, you're not going to have as good of a monthly payment as if you got the home for the right price buying it today. If you want that low monthly payment, I know we want the low rate. We can refinance down to the low rate when it comes. But if you want that low monthly payment, you got to get the home for the right price too. So really cool way for you to do that comparison. Buy now and then refi next year when the low rates come versus waiting, paying more for the home and buying it next year and then getting it outright at that low rate. Here's how the monthly payment looks comparing those two. And then, of course, looking down at the bottom section, how much equity they're going to be sitting on in July of 2027. If you go down option A, you've got $76,000 you're sitting on. You got the down payment. You paid towards principal. The house appreciated in your favor. Ultimately, you're sitting on $76,000 as opposed to option B where you waited that year and then you bought in July. Well, how much equity do you have in July of 2027? Just your down payment, which, by the way, is more because you had to pay more for the home, so your down payment's bigger as well. And that's all that you're sitting on. You don't have the principal. You haven't gotten to capitalize on that appreciation. It worked against you. So, such a cool calculation here to lean on in that conversation with that buyer who's thinking about waiting for lower rates next year. So had to show you that one. The other one that I have to show you, if you don't know about it already, the true value analysis. True value analysis is the ultimate pricing tool for that conversation with the seller. It lets you talk about low-end strategy, a market value strategy, a high-end strategy where that house could sit on the market and cost you. And then you'd have the risk of a reduction as well because it sat on the market for too long. Let's talk about your net on all 3 of these pricing strategies. It's such a powerful tool for you to walk into that conversation with the seller and leave with them pricing the home where you're recommending it gets priced. Let me show you how it works, because we added a feature about a month ago. I don't even think it was live on the last advance call that we did, so I'm excited to show you guys here. We added a feature where all you have to do to fill out this entire input screen, the 3 prices, the loan balance, the taxes, all those holding costs. The holding cost is something that the seller doesn't think about when they're thinking about listing too high. They're not thinking about the HOA that their house is accruing as it sits or the electricity bill, especially in those situations where they've bought the new house and they still have ownership of that old house. Those costs are adding up. After 6 months, 9 months, which some of these houses are sitting on the market that long, that could be a great deal of money that seller is lighting on fire just because they listed the house too high. All those costs, we need to itemize those out. And so that we can realistically paint a picture of what this house is costing you, Mr. Seller, as it sits. So that's what we had to fill out previously. But like I said, a month ago, we released a new feature into our home link where all you have to do is add an address. That's it, you guys. Just add an address. When you add an address, the app's going to fill out that entire input screen to you. It's going to fill it all out just by you adding an address. This is something I can do as I'm walking up to the door of that listing to meet with that seller. It's going to first pull the tax record for me. That's something our home link feature has always done. All of our calculators, when you add in an address, it's going to pull that tax record from county records. Next thing, on these seller calculators, it's going to pull what their loan balance should be. We could see when they started a loan. If we run an amortization schedule for a 30-year term using the average rate for the year that loan was originated, we can show how much they owe today if they've been regular on their payments. Here's that number. You started a loan in February of 2021. If we use the average rate for that year of 2.9 and you've been regular on your payments today, you owe $375. Such a cool piece. The additional 2 screens after this are what we added recently to take this to the next level. If I press use estimate, first I'll get the home value. Here's 3 different prices: the low end, the market, the high end, all pulled from those 7 different data providers that we're now getting data from. And we actually testing that data against itself. That's what's causing this confidence score. That's showing us how much overlap there is between the 7 different data providers about these prices for this home exactly. So cool piece here where we're going to help you with those 3 prices. But the final piece is my favorite, those holding costs. We're automatically calculating those. We can automatically see some of them like HOA, we're able to get that from some of these data providers. But the electricity bill, we're using average kilowatts per hour for different areas and the square footage of the home to create a seasonally adjusted electricity bill for that address. It'll recognize if the house has a pool and calculate pool maintenance for that area. All of this calculated just by adding their address and pressing use data, where it fills it out for us. So again, I've got a listing. I park in front of the house. I get out of my truck. I'm walking up to the door. I open up my app, plug in that address, and before I'm even knocking on that door, I'm pressing compute, and I've got my 3 pricing strategies laid out here. The low end, where it flies off the market, doesn't cost you much. 1 month on market is about $2,600. That's not bad. Versus the high end, where this could sit on the market for 6 months, like the last house that was priced that high above the comps did. If yours sits on the market for 6 months, you're going to be out about $16,000. That's $16,000 burning out of your pocket. I know you said you don't care how long it takes to sell. You just want to sell it for 8.25. If you're burning $16,000, you're netting $16,000 less because that house sat on the market for 6 months. Do you really not care about how long it takes to sell? Michelle's got 2 sellers that she's going to use this on. I love that. Let me take it a step further for you, Michelle. If that house sits on the market for 6 months, we're probably going to have to do a reduction over this time. Let me flip this toggle right here, and it's going to throw a reduction section on here. And now I can call out these nets at the bottom and say, hey, look, we might be better off. We might actually net you more listing this on the low end. It flies off the market, doesn't cost you much. By the way, we might get a bidding war at that price because there's not another house listed for less than $740 in this neighborhood. So it's going to get a lot of attention. We might force a bidding war at this price. Versus the high end, listing it where you want to list it, and it gives you 6 months of headaches. By the way, costing you about $16,000 while it sat there. Then you had to do a reduction. You got egg on your face because the neighbors saw that you had to do a reduction, and ultimately you're just not even netting as much. We might be better off listing this on the lower end and getting some serious attention behind it. This is the ability here, you guys, to have that conversation, have some foresight, and look down these 3 different pricing strategies and how it could take longer to sell the house at that higher price. How's that going to affect your net? But to really support us in this conversation, we need market stats. Up here at the top, market stats, we're going to pull data about that city from Altos or the zip or the metro area. But being able to point out and call out the average days on market, Mr. Seller, I just want you to know, the average for this city, about 86 days on market. I'm going to sell your house faster than that. I have no doubt in my mind, but I just need your expectations to be set correctly. I need you to know the average for this city is about 86 days. The percent of listings that took a price decrease, Mr. Sellers, 40%. That's almost 1 in every 2 listings had to do a reduction. How many of them had to do a price increase? None of them, zero. I just want you to know we got to price this thing correctly right out the gate. If we don't, one in every two in this city had to do a reduction. We got to price this thing right so we're not having to do a reduction later on down the road. And the report that you're going to take to your meeting with these two sellers, Michelle, is next level. I'm going to press that share icon in the top right corner, box with the arrow coming out of it. I'm going to skip the full report. That's a one-pager. It is included for free, but it's only a one-page. The TVA report is what I want to show you. That's a 5-page packet. You do have to have premium to be able to access this, but it's such a powerful way for us to ace that conversation with that seller about price specifically. It starts off with a branded cover sheet, pulls our brand color, our logo, our photo, contact information. Then it goes into a graphic that lets us say, hey, look, the longer a house is on the market, buyers start wondering what's wrong and they start submitting these lowball offers. If we want to net you the most and sell your house for the most, we got to price it right and sell it fast. Hit this optimal sale zone. And here's the local and national data to support us in this conversation. Then we've got a look at the days on market. If this house does sit 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, here's how much it's costing you as it sits. Then we've got a look at the 3 pricing strategies, that full report. The 3 pricing strategies laid out, holding costs in orange, reductions in red, the adjusted final net at all 3 strategies. And then, of course, we've got that net sheet that our app is famous for. So you still get to create that net sheet for your listing appointment, but you're going to be armed with 4 additional pages that really help you look like a rock star in that pricing conversation. I've said it before, this is the type of thing where if you're dealing with the seller and they're interviewing different listing agents, they're not interviewing anybody after you if you show up with something like this. This is the type of thing that lets you educate that seller into listing more realistically and avoiding some of the pitfalls of listing too high, like holding costs and the risk of reductions. So such an amazing tool here. All right, I do see a few questions about the premium aspect of this calculator. So the calculator itself is free. There are 2 pieces of it that require premium to be able to be used. The Altos data, that's something that requires premium. So this section right here, you can get the national data with the free account. You have to have premium to be able to look at this local data from Altos. And then the other thing that requires premium is that TVA report. The full report is free. The TVA report requires premium. So the calculator itself is free, but there are a few pieces within the calculator that require premium. All right, so that is, our advance call for July. I'm going to hang around for a second, see if there's any questions that pop up, but hopefully you got a lot of use out of not only the monthly marketing package content that we're highlighting this month, but also these newer calculators that are, again, designed for today's market specifically. I'm not sure if the content went live already while we were on this call together, so you guys might be seeing that if you're relaunching your app, but like I said, video's already been posted. The content is going live here in the next couple of minutes. Okay, so check this out. Melissa, I love this. I love some of the comments coming through. But Melissa, I've got something for you. Let me show you something real quick. For that true value analysis, I'm going to go ahead and add the address again so it goes through. Melissa, for anybody who's staying around for some of these questions, Melissa is asking about condos. And we actually made an adjustment to this calculator to address attached homes specifically. So I'm going to show you how to access that. A lot of the nation or portions of the nation that we work with, that you guys down in Florida, or some of you in California, you deal a lot with these townhomes and condos. And so we actually loaded something in. So for the market stats data, traditionally, this is going to be based on detached homes. But for those of you who are dealing more with condos and such, and you need stats that work for attached homes instead, we added that ability in via the settings gear next to local data. If you press that settings gear, you'll be able to go in and switch to attached homes, and then the stats from Altos are going to instead be based on on condos and attached homes and townhomes and such. So hopefully that helps you, Melissa. Any other questions that anybody has? Awesome. Well, it's truly been a pleasure for you guys. Here, you know what? I want to go ahead and see what you're seeing. So I'm going to press attached homes. Okay. I'll take a screenshot of this and send it over to our support team. Also, Melissa, for yours, if you can send a screenshot to our support team, support@palmagent.com. But what you're looking for, Melissa, is this settings gear. So when you run the true value analysis calculator, this will be your main result screen. You'll switch over to market stats, the settings gear next to local data. That's how you'll switch to detached homes instead of attached, or to attached homes instead of the detached homes that we've defaulted. No problem, Tamara. It was truly a pleasure having you. Again, thank you all for joining us, and I'll see you on next month's advanced call. We absolutely will be sending the recording out to all who attended, so just watch your inbox for the recording. But thank you guys again for joining us, and we'll see you next time.